Kevin McCullough.
Friends, I'm very excited to have you with us for this weekend because a bunch of you have gone to the phone or you've gone to the website and you've decided to help us make a difference. I've been telling you just for the later portion of the summer that this year we are trying to help 600 children who are starving at present to get food for the next year. My partner is Food for the Poor in this endeavor, and they have, for many, many years, been working in 18 of the poorest countries on the planet to help feed children that otherwise would not receive food. And, you know, it becomes practical when you see the the stories about Springfield, Ohio, and other places where very poor people have been imported to the U.S., and they're put into communities, and geese and cats and stuff get eaten because this is what poor people do in poorer parts of the world. They find what they can find and they eat what they can eat. But what I love about Food for the Poor is that they're not trying to ship people anywhere. They're trying to get rice and beans, protein and nutrition to the children where they are so that they don't have this problem coming elsewhere. And that's why for the last few weeks, I've been telling you about Food for the Poor's campaign this summer. They've identified 600 children that need our help to be fed for the next year. And for a one-time gift, now listen to me on this, for a one-time gift of $80, that's all. For $80, one child can be fed for the entire next year, 2 meals a day. Now, do the math on that. That's 365 days for the next year. That's in excess of 700 to 800 meals for the year that child will receive. And when they receive it, it's not just, you know, one little, you know, half scoop of rice or something. It's a plate full of food. And that child will then have 2 of those for the coming year, one in the midday, one in the evening, for the next year when you give a gift of $80 right now. Here's where you go. Instagood.org. Instagood.org is the website where you can click. You just go to instagood.org and you just put the information right there, and then another child's name is taken off the list. Now, I have some good news. Our goal is 600 children, but because of your generosity over the last couple of weeks, we have now surpassed 101 children that will be fed for the coming year. And if you give this weekend, before midnight on Sunday night, but before the end of this show in particular, your gift will be matched child for child, bite for bite, food for food, plate for plate. 855-349-HOPE. 855-349-4673 is the phone number. 855-349-4673. Let me say it again. 855-349-4673. And this will be done. Now, for those of you that are faith-based and you're concerned about spiritual things as well, I just want you to know that Food for the Poor is a Christ-centered ministry that works through pastors on the ground in the communities where the children already are. They aren't trying to take the children out of there and bring them to the U.S. They are reaching the children where they are. But these are children that live in truly abject poverty. Just a couple of years back, I was traveling with Food for the Poor to a very remote location. And when we got to the village, was called Kadwa, where we were going, it was one of the most horrific things I'd ever seen. First of all, we had to drive to the wilderness. And when we got to the edge of where the roads stopped, we had to walk almost another 2 full miles into where the village of Kadwa was. This was in the nation of Haiti. I have a son that I've adopted from Haiti. This is a country that's very much on my heart. And as we were walking back into this village of Kadwa, I noticed that there were no real water supplies coming into this area. There was no stream. There was no lake. There was nothing like that. And when we got to the edge of town, I noticed there was one kind of water retention area, but it wasn't very big. It was like a very, very small pond. And in this pond, there were animals coming and going. Some were drinking from it. Some were doing other things in it. But this was the water supply for that town. And there was a little building that was, I think it was the church, but the pastor of the church was trying to hold a little school class in there. And when we were coming back in there, I looked and saw the remnants of a village that had evidently been there for a little while. And I asked our guide, I said, what did they do here? He said, well, there used to be some production of sugarcane just off to the side of the village here. And as you would go out, that's where it would be. But when the hurricane came a few years ago, it wiped out all of the ability of that area to grow. And since that time, the place that had been raising the sugarcane had gone away. And so the people that were now living there that had been formerly quasi-employed by this place, they had no job. And they have children and so forth. So that year I came back and I asked my radio listeners and I said, will you help us do this? We need to do two things. We need to build a water supply for them and we need to get them food. And we did it. We got a sand water filter that is solar operated, and it would take out 99% of the impurities of the water that would be retained through rainfall and so forth. And they were able to then produce, I think it was upwards of 10,000 gallons a day because they have this filter and water supply. And then we were able to take their feeding program, which is what we're talking about tonight, and make sure that all the children. So I went back a year later with Food for the Poor again, and I got to see the same town, and it was revolutionized. Children some had grown a little bit. I could tell the difference in their sizes, and I remembered some of their names. And the mothers were happy. There was this one little girl that was so happy to have clean water and the food every day. And friends, these are the kind of people. The pastor that was there that day that led us around, he was still there a year later, and he was so grateful. These are the kinds of situations that we're helping right now when you give a gift at 855-349-4673, 855-349-4673, instagood.org. Insta, like Instagram or instant, instagood, G-O-O-D, instagood, all one word, .org. Or you can just text my name, Kevin, to 93999. Please do so.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.